And our next class will be taught by Kay Rudisil. And Kay is another really dear friend of mine, who I appreciate greatly. She's been training since the early 1980s, started in the Key Society style at UC Berkeley, trained on and off over the years in several organizations. And in 1998, she joined Boulder Aikikai, where she trained under Ikeda Sensei and Trace Hoffmeister Sensei. And while she was there, she taught the children's class for several years. For the past 7 years, she's been training at Denver Aikikai under Edgar Johansson Sensei. She travels a lot to seminars and trains with lots of different people and is one of the joys on the mat, always to train with. And so I'm very, very happy to welcome instructor Kay Rudisil for class today. Onegaishimasu.
I have to unmute myself. There we go. Thank you very much. So welcome everybody. I want to explore some things of people getting back into the dojo after 15 months of being off the mat. Most people have been. I haven't had the opportunity to train. So looking at exploring some of the concepts that we have to do when we get back into the dojo. How do we get back into shape? What is it like to fall down and get back up off the mat? That's always a challenge. So it's something that we do so much in the dojo, but we don't realize it, and we might not have done it on Zoom these past 15 months. So that's one of the things I want to take a look at. The other thing is, how do we take all these great lessons that we've learned on Zoom over these 15 months and bring them back into the dojo? So when we go back into the dojo, everything moves much quicker. And I've started going back to classes, so I'm doing a combination of Zoom and dojo classes. So I'm noticing how my body's reacting to attacks and to attacking people. So exactly what Angus Sensei was talking about, those sincere attacks, have they weakened over the 15 months where we're not actually striking someone else? We want to kind of explore some of that. The other thing is, I'd like this to be interactive. I'm looking for ideas and experiences from everybody here on the Zoom. So I will be asking you some questions. And I don't want us to fall back into old habits. So when we get back on the mat, the problem is our body automatically takes over and just has that memory, right? So we attack the same way. We tend to do techniques the same way. How can we bring back what we've learned in Zoom during this period onto the mat? So those are most of the pieces that I want to look at. And how do we slow down things? So that's also a challenge, right? So how do we keep those lessons learned? So I'm going to start by how we get down and up off the mat. One of the things is that I noticed some of us, our muscles might have atrophied a little bit, so they're not quite in the same shape as they were. So how can we use our bodies to counterbalance? And some of the senseis have actually explored this, and it's really interesting to look at. So you're not using as much muscle in the beginning. So if we're standing in a comfortable stance, and we look at how we can slowly bend our knees, and this might be a little bit of a challenge to see my feet a little bit. So if we slowly bend our knees and then slowly reach down towards the mat without creating any strain on your back or anything, but think of as if you were going to go sit in a chair. So you're going to go sit in a chair, but instead you actually just tip forward. Your knees are bent, nice and comfortable here. So it can be a sideways view, might be better. And you reach down towards the mat completely like this. So if you can, slowly go down into like a squat, okay? So you're down in a squat. Now you counterbalance forward. You take your feet out of active toes and you sit down. Okay, So let's try that again. So for actually getting up, you would counterbalance forward. You can use your hands, but preferably it's just for balance and not actually putting your weight on your hands, okay? So if we just balance forward, get back into active toes, okay? Now you might have to shift your hips back. So you're in a squat again. And then you're going to slowly counterbalance by bringing your head forward and your hips up. So this is, you can bring your knees down and your head up, or your head forward and your hips go up into the air. So I'm actually standing up with bent knees, and then you slowly roll up. So basically I use minimal muscle with that. And I'm curious to see too how this is for everybody else. So notice what's happening in your body as you do this. So we're going to do this a couple of times. So soften your knees. Think about sitting down on a chair. And when you come to that point where you would actually sit down, that's when I want you to tip your head further forward, down to the mat. Now drop your hips down till you're into a squat. Bring your hands forward, gently place your knees on the mat, get out of active toes, and you're sitting in Seiza. Okay, so I would love to have you have mics off and give me a little feedback on that. Do you feel any strain on any parts of your body? Does that hurt your knees, your back? Any areas, do you notice any specific strain? I want you to please speak up or post in the chat, because this is an exploration, okay? This is trying to figure out ways that you can get up and off the mat in a minimal muscular fashion until we actually get back into shape, right? Because we have to get up and down a lot. So again, so think of your body as this big counterbalance. Don't forcefully push yourself forward. Just let yourself sort of fall forward. Your knees come up. You have one push probably to get up onto your haunches, and then counterbalance the rest of it up. And you should be able to actually do that quite a bit without any strain. Is anybody noticing any pains anywhere or strain? No? All good? Actually, I'm going to put you guys on gallery view so I can see everybody. All good with that? Thumbs up? Okay, let's try a few more of these just real quick. So see if you can do this a little quicker. Bending down and into Seiza. Back up onto your center. Your weight is over your ankles. So your hips over your ankles, give that centered feeling. Lift your hips up and roll up. And this slow roll up also helps you not get dizzy and fall over once you stand up, because that's a common thing too when people are getting up and down off the mat. You haven't been in the dojo. Now you go back and you find that, you know, you get dizzy. Okay, so down and back up. Okay, all good for that one? Everybody good? Okay, all right. If you have any comments, please, I want to hear them. Okay, if you have any feedback. The next one, what we're going to do is to do this a little bit differently. So there's another way of going down and counterbalancing. So let's go back down into Seiza as we did. Now this time I'm going to counterbalance forward and just come up to my knees. So I'm on my knees only. I want you to shift your weight to one knee. So if I shift to my right, that frees up my left leg. Okay. So if we try that, and then we come up to like a 90 degree on this leg, get your other leg that's down in active toes. Now I'm going to bend my body forward, and I'm going to lift my hips at the same time that I straighten this leg. So active toes are kind of necessary for this one. Lift up, bring my leg together, and come up. So how does that feel for people? We'll try a few more, and then I want to get some feedback on that. So going down in this one, we're going to come down, drop that leg back, bend that knee, straighten up. We're at that 90 degree. Drop that leg back, get out of active toes, and drop down. Okay. So again, then counterbalance forward. I don't want you to try and force this part. Counterbalance forward, bring that leg up. So as your body, you're working with that counterbalancing of your body to move your limbs. Active toes, lean forward, straighten that leg, and come up. Feedback. I'd love to hear what people are noticing or feeling in their body when they do that.
Please feel free to put it in the chat if you don't want to just unmute yourself and speak.
But I would love to hear you.
For me, Willie puts in the chat, I noticed it's easier for me to keep my knees bending.
Yes, absolutely. Willie, you got a good point there. If you start to straighten your legs too much, it can be hard. Now, Willie, my question would be, keeping your knees bent when you're doing this part, straightening this leg? Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, good, good. I love to hear differences because this is unique to each person, right? So it's not going to be the same for me as it is for you. So if we try Willie's way and we go down, keep this knee bent as we drop it. I like that. I think that actually works well. Okay. So that's a notice, that's a difference. I was trying to counterbalance and completely straighten this, but if we keep it bent, bring it up, and then roll up. Okay, thank you, Willie. I appreciate that.
Another comment from Kathy, I find it easier to bring my head up sooner?
Okay, on which part, Kathy? So let me see you do it. I'm watching. I hear you though. So she's going down. So here's her head's up. Now counterbalancing here up. See, that's the part where I'm trying to avoid the back pain there on that, Kathy. So Kathy had, if she's down in Seiza, and she's coming up, and correct me if I misunderstood, Kathy. She comes up here, she keeps her head up as she comes up, but that I find counters the counterbalance. So if I'm here and now I need to come up, I have to use muscle. If I keep my head up and my upper body up, I have to really use a lot of quad muscle to get up. Okay, but if I actually just let myself bend over, I can bring, these muscles are stronger to be able to lift up. That's what I'm finding. So it's interesting. But I think that's interesting. And that could also be habit too. Typically, we get up very straight and we're meant to go down very straight, right? That's our practice. But when we get back in the dojo, we have to think about taking care of our bodies, right? So that's where, if you find, I find getting up from here puts a lot of strain on my knees. So if I counterbalance and lift up, that does not hurt as much. So do whatever works that doesn't cause pain. So Kathy, if that works better for you, then please do that. Any other feedback?
I find I'm enjoying the end when the body, when you bring your body upright. Right before bringing it upright, that stretch to the lower back feels really good for me. When the body's bent.
When the body's bent, right?
So that stretch is very helpful for my lower back. Thank you.
It feels good. I have back pains too a lot, so that helps me to be bent to counterbalance, right? So you can feel where that counterbalance is. If you're starting to do a lot of muscle, I might not be counterbalanced enough forward, right? If I feel I'm, oh, where is this here? It's putting strain on my lower back if I try and come straight up here. That's really difficult for me. Might not be for everybody, right?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does it matter if I bring the back foot forward or the forward foot back?
Let's try
Or-
it.
Well, I did both ways. I don't really find a difference, but is there,
Well,
for me anyways?
that's a good point. I would think it might be depending on the position of where you're trying to get to. Right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if this is my spot and I'm in Seiza, but I don't want to go any further forward, I come here, I counterbalance up and I'm here. If I want to be away, I'm going to step back.
Correct.
Right? If I actually am trying to go towards something, then I might come here, right? So I can
Okay.
attack. So
Yes.
I think it would depend on the situation. I think you're right. It doesn't matter either way.
Okay.
I'm not noticing a difference.
No, there's not much of a difference.
Yeah. So if you're at this point and you come here, the question is right now my weight is on my forward leg. So it's a little easier for me to bring my back foot forward. To bring my forward foot back, I have to make sure this is bent like Willie said, and then make it one motion. So it might be a little bit more strain to bring that front foot back.
Okay.
That's what I'm noticing, okay? Everybody is different, like I said. So if I'm here, my weight is here, I can move this quite easily, right? But to move this back, I have to get my weight off of this foot and shift back. So that might be a difference. Good, excellent. Great points. And it depends on your muscle buildup too, right? Once we build our muscles up, we can go back or forth, it doesn't matter. But this is sort of having an awareness of when you get back on the mat, how it's affecting your body, right? Any other feedback? Things people are noticing, people with bad knees. My knees have gotten quite weak over the past year of not getting up and down off the mat. Any other questions? No? Okay, let's try another one. So thank you for the feedback. Appreciate that. Like I said, this is an exploration. So another one is to go from Seiza into cross-legged. So some people will go to the side and then bring that leg around. I tend to have a little bit more flexible hips. So I actually open this up, bring these feet forward and sit down. And I'm curious as to feedback from everybody, what works best for everybody? Is the sideways sitting down? And this probably depends on the flexibility of your hips. So how many people show of hands, find it easier to go to the side? I see 1, I see 2, 3, maybe about 3. Okay, so going to the side and bringing that foot over without completely falling over on your partner if you're in a line, right? You have to be careful of that. So that's why sometimes if it's real tight, I will do this, lift my hips up, bring my feet under me and drop, but that's not possible for everybody. I know that. Okay. And again, counterbalancing with your body to make that position. Here with the counterbalance to the side, you have to be careful who's next to you and that you don't completely lose it, right? So you might have to use a hand. So this is actually a good way to get your hips a little bit more flexible, practicing this. Different ways of getting up and down. And then from this, of course, you know, we can go into our cross legs here. Another fun one to do, if we're cross-legged, for those of you who can sit cross-legged, I know maybe not everybody can, we're going to get up from this position. So what you do is you look at where the bottom of your foot is and the direction it's pointing, okay? And from this, you're going to reach around comfortably, place your hands, and go up onto your hips in that direction, and then come up. Any problems with that?
Would you do that one more time, please?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so we're sitting cross-legged, right? I have my left foot forward. Hopefully that's obvious with Zoom for you. I'm going to go in this direction, the direction that the bottom of my foot is pointing. I'm going to reach around behind me as far as I comfortably can. So you want to be careful of your shoulder as well. And as I do this, I'm actually lifting up onto this foot and keeping both feet the same, twisting them, and now I'm on my ankles, right? In a squat. And then from there, I can counterbalance to roll up. Let me try that from a different angle. On here, again, it's my left foot. I'm going to go to the right. If my left foot's forward, I'm going to reach back, pivot on my feet. I'm not actually changing my feet position anywhere. I'm now on a squat, lift up, counterbalance, and I'm up. Okay.
Sorry, I don't know that one.
Does that work for everybody? Is that good? Thumbs up? Thumbs up. All right, let's try that a few more times. It's kind of a fun one. You can switch legs, see if you can go in the other direction. Some people tend to favor one side or the other. So if I have my right leg forward, I'm going to go to the left. So I'm going to reach around, pivot up onto my ankles, and get up. Okay. And going back down, I'm going to counterbalance, put down onto my knees, and I get back into cross-legged. Okay, so again, I'm going to try that other direction. I'm going to go left. So I'm going to reach around, up on my ankles, and come up. Feedback on that one from anybody? What are you noticing in your body?
Hey, Kay.
Yeah?
So a couple of things. One, in going down, and you're saying reach as far as it's comfortable. One of the things that I found for myself is actually for counterbalancing to getting the head closer to the floor. So that makes it easier for you to lift your pelvis. And the other thing is it's fun to get back down using the same way.
Yeah, okay, let's try that. All right, excellent. So if I'm like this, instead of just reaching back, you know, to turn, think about coming forward, because this gets you off your weight and then move back. That's an interesting, different angle. So go ahead and try that. I have to think about the reverse. That's a little tricky.
If you do the reverse just as you are coming up, so don't come up completely straight. From that place, just rewind.
Okay, good. I like that. So here we are, bottom of the foot out. We're going to lean forward with our head further over our knee if we can. That's a little hard for me. Actually, that's interesting. I have to lift my hips to do that. Do you lift your hips when you reach out over your knee?
A little bit. So not a lot. So the movement is subtle. So just a little bit of a lift
Okay.
as you turn. And from there you can rewind.
Yes, definitely. So that is a way to get back down and cross-legged. If you're, let's see, let me go the other way. So if you're in a squat, basically, right? So if you're in a squat, you can actually wind back down and get back into cross-leg. So try that a few times. You're in a squat, you can go in any direction at that point, right? So you're here, you wind down with one knee, and you basically just sit down. But it's an interesting dynamic. And I've seen some people do this up, go down in the other direction as an exercise, right? So going from squat to cross-legged. And you can do circles. Any other feedback? Really nice session. I see a comment from Asli. Wonderful for Seiza and Hansa. How to sit and get up and turning also nice. Very good. Any feedback?
Just a very tiny observation that you can protect your shoulder doing this by keeping your fingers pointed towards yourself as opposed to away.
Nice, good, thank you. Okay, and Kato Sensei? You're on mute, Kato Sensei. Bottom left should be the mute button if you're on a computer.
Yeah, thank you.
There you go.
Yeah, going back to the previous one, I like a combination of what Willie said and Kathy. But Kathy, try coming up when you come up with the head up, but instead of just the head, try opening your chest as you're coming up. Try that.
Okay, so from the previous one.
Yeah, and for me, I like that, but I've got really bad knees, so they hardly bend. So if Kathy can do it, that might be good.
Yeah, okay, so Kathy, did you get that? So what we're gonna try from Seiza, getting up, forward, one leg up.
And open your chest as you're coming up.
Right, so opening the chest and keeping the knees bent.
Yeah, and then come up.
How's that work, Kathy? Good, thumbs up? I think I see a thumbs up. Two thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
Thank you, Kato Sensei.
Yeah, because when you open your chest, it seems like you're getting away from thinking about using the quads, and you're using I think, the quad more. And so
Okay.
it's not as much
Right.
work on the quads.
Ah, good. That's a good point too. And the quad, that center point where you can actually pivot, right? You actually more here, right?
Yes, right there.
Quad.
You're
Yes.
opening that up as you're opening your chest up, yeah.
Thank you. That's a great point. So if everybody wants to try that just for a moment, try once or twice. So thinking of this collapsing down in as well, but keeping your chest open.
As you're coming up, open your chest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we open our chest, but we use the quad.
Yeah.
Nice. Like that. Okay. So definitely practice what works for you. What works for one person is not necessarily going to work for somebody else. People have injured shoulders. People have injured knees. The main thing, the point of this is to take care of yourself, protect your body parts as you're getting back on the mat and things are going a lot faster. You're getting up and down. So that's a big piece. Okay. Moving on to the second part of your partner and an attack and resistance. So what I was thinking about is I have to move something over here so I can see everybody still. If you have a wall or a desk, so you can try this with a wall or a desk. A desk will be different. I'll show the wall method first. The idea is that you're feeling the resistance of your partner. So if you're uke and you're attacking Shomen, and like Angus Sensei was talking about, you want to do a sincere attack, right? So here you come in. I want you to try that against the wall, or if you have a desk, the other thing would be is you can actually press down on the desk. And the point that I want you to do is notice where in your body you're feeling tension. So I think the one person who's in the park could probably use the tree. Exactly. Nice. So against a desk, a tree, a wall, it's basically feeling when you give this attack, where are you feeling that tension in your body? Okay, so do a couple of Shomen strikes against whatever object you have. And take a moment to feel that. Is that tension stopping in your shoulder, your elbow, your hand, your hip? Are you able to transfer that down to the ground? So the other thing I want you to notice, where do you have your weight when you attack? On your front leg or on your back leg? Where is that? Are you switching it? Are you noticing it? Are you pushing with your back leg to make this attack? Or you have your weight on your front leg? Try both. And what do you notice? And are you leaning forward? Are you in good posture as you attack? That's the other question. If you have Zoom, you can actually see yourself. How am I attacking? Am I, whoa, attacking and bending? So this gives you a chance to actually feel that resistance of the wall or the table in your body. Okay, good. So how many people have their weight on their back leg? Raise the hands. Nobody? Okay, great. Weight is on your front leg. Good. Okay. Yeah. All right. So what I noticed when I tested this on another group of people, some people had the weight on the back pushing down in, but then you can't move from here, right? Because you can't get your weight off the back leg. So if you have your weight on the front leg, this leg can come in for an attack for whatever you might need, right? So you want to have that balance of your weight potentially on your front leg. There is a guy. Okay, to you, Willie. So think of that and notice that when you go back to the dojo and you're attacking. Now I want you to try and think of the wall or the desk as uke and your nage. So as nage, you're coming up to meet that attack, right? So try that and flip in your brain that you are now nage. And you have the wall is attacking you, the desk is attacking you. Can you change that feeling and notice how that feels different in your body? So try that a few times. Are you able to notice a difference of how that feels, even though the object you're working with is the same? Do you notice a difference as uke or as nage?
What I've noticed, because I'm using a tree in the background here, because it's rounded, when I'm doing the block, because it's rounded, it forces me like I'm almost being thrown or something like that. I got to kind of catch myself, otherwise I'll land up in the grass over there. So I guess a tree would be pretty good to practice on. So,
Yeah,
I'm at
great.
my son's house, but at my place in Sudbury, I have a telephone pole and I practice on. So in my backyard, so it'll be the same thing as that.
Right. Yeah.
So-
So you notice a difference of how
Oh
you're
yeah,
angling. Good.
Yep.
As you should be, right? As nage and uke, it should be different, right? One is coming down to, one is greeting up. You might have a different reaction in your body. So just noticing those reactions in your body and how it's different, right? What's that resistance? Where do you feel tension? How can you transfer that tension maybe to a different part of your body? If it's always in your shoulders and your shoulders are sore after training, can you transfer that to your hip, shifting something in your body, changing just a little bit, right? So one last little exercise I want to try. And this is, Gary says, when receiving my weight by default is on the back foot versus attacking, it's on my front foot. Excellent, Gary. Thank you. Yes, good point. So notice that these are the things that we've been training on Zoom and noticing these pieces, but we don't necessarily pay attention to them in the dojo, okay? So I want people to start thinking about that, bring that back in, and take time to observe how your body feels, what you're feeling in your body, and how your uke is reacting. So another exercise, if you don't have any bracelets or watches or rings on, is actually pretending your right hand is uke and your left hand is nage. And uke is attacking nage. So for a moment in your mind, try to distinguish uke and nage. So uke is attacking, and actually, as Angus Sensei said, you don't just give a lame attack, right? You want to actually attack the person. What does that feel like? And can you distinguish that in your mind? You might not be able to, that's okay. In your body. So notice this is a foreign hand attacking. And just do right hand uke for now. And see what that feels like. It can be a softer grab, but controlling. And is uke controlling the whole body? Maybe the shoulder? Maybe just the wrist? Maybe they're a beginner. Maybe they're more advanced. What is uke? How does nage feel when uke is grabbing? Do you feel any tension in your body? And can you distinguish that? It's a little bit tricky. You have to use your imagination. If they're pulling, they might be pulling nage. It's like, whoa. Okay. Or they're trying to get into a sankyo. We do this when we do our sankyo, right? But really feel this is nage and this is uke. Just for a moment. Is everybody able to actually make that distinction? Okay, good. I actually feel like one feels colder than the other. It's strange. I don't know what that is, but I'm trying to detach from one versus the other as I think about it. So that's something you can play with. Feeling the grab of uke or nage. Another one I like a lot, Ikeda Sensei works with, is this, is if you're leading somebody, you're sort of wiping your wrist as you're catching uke. And Angus Sensei showed a technique too, where you're swiping down, right? You're just on top of the arm. You can actually practice this and feel this sensation. Does it feel, I can feel if I'm pulling or pushing my arm versus softly leading that arm. So you'll notice that it's a bit different, and you can move your hand up or down so you're catching different parts. Can you catch just a little bit of that and lead that hand softly versus grabbing? It's a very different feel, and you can actually practice that feel on yourself of how you grab and how you lead somebody, like you're going into a kotegaishi, or you're just, doing an irimi nage, what that feels like, okay? So those are just a couple of things I wanted to share with everybody. Basically getting back into the dojo, figuring out how we get our bodies back into shape, and feeling the reaction. As soon as the first time somebody grabs you in the dojo, think about that. What does it feel like? What is the difference? You've been 15 months potentially without somebody actually grabbing your hand or your wrist. What does it feel like? And what's it going to feel like? Are you going to go back to maybe your old reactions of tension in a shoulder or something? Make sure you don't do that, or notice how you can move that through your body somewhere else. Any questions or feedback?
I do.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I think this was really, really valuable. I mean, getting back to the dojo, a lot of us, even if we have been staying as active with our trainings as we can through the pandemic, our bodies are just not where they were when we were training like normal before. And a safe way to function in the dojo as we're gaining our strength back is a really, really valuable information. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank you. Anybody else? Any questions? No? Yeah? Martin? Did you have a question?
Yeah, no question, but thank you. This was awesome. Yeah, to think about, to try to separate the uke and nage, and like very specifically.
Okay.
It was interesting that the uke had a cold hand. I had similar stuff.
It's when your brain detaches from your body, right?
Yeah. Thank you, Sensei.
Very cool.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Kay. Very, very enjoyable. Lots of food for thought. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We've gotten to the end of our Sunday series for today. And once again, Greg Angus Sensei, thank you so much for your time and your sharing your thinking about training and your movement with us, your clarity. Kay, thank you so much for your instruction today. You're guiding us in exploring these different things. And thank you always, of course, for the Zoom stuff, you and Gary. I can never say that enough. And I just want to thank everyone for being here because it's meaningful. You know, we're keeping our connection, we're keeping ourselves, you know, hanging out with each other and exploring some things, even as our situation with our ability to train back in the dojo is getting back to some semblance of normalcy for some of us. I just really value the time together here. And still, I encourage us all, for myself, you know, as well, even as we get back to our regular training, let's still keep thinking outside of the box like we've been doing for this past year. Let's still think of ways we can grow and develop that are a little bit innovative and a little bit different, maybe, that can bring some new stuff, some new insight and some new things to share with each other.